Oh god, it's hot. All right, hello. Welcome back to another episode. I'm just here to talk about this one guy. You guys ever heard of Bill Mayer or Bill Maher or Bill Maher? Whatever. Regardless, if you ever heard of Bill Mayer, he has this one show. It's called Real Time with Bill Mayer, and pretty much he just talks. I don't know how else to say it. This guy is just talking his shit, and whatever topic that he thinks of, he talks about it. And honestly, I envy him in that sense. But in my experience, or from what I know about him, Bill Mayer is he's like a comedian, right? He's been on tour, he's done stand-up, he's like a funny guy, right? But as someone who's never seen any of his stand-up, who only has seen trending or popular clips about him, with either a popular or very unpopular opinion, I will say this. Bill Mayer, he's either a comedian or he just thinks he's funny. And both can be true. But to be a comedian, someone has to laugh. If no one laughs, you're not a comedian. You understand? So, I don't know. I don't know how to really what else to say about him, except I'm going in believing this. And I'm very interested to see his take because he has this new video called New Rule, Don't Go to College. And I'm thinking to myself, well, fuck, I'm in college. However, this is something I've been hearing for a while. I've heard this back then since the Ty Lopez days, so you can assume why I would have some skepticism in hearing that. But maybe Bill is going to blow my mind. Maybe this guy is going to seek truth through funny and give me the real lowdown on why I should not go to college and why I'm wasting my time and, frankly, my money.
And finally, New Rule, as an Ivy League graduate who knows the value of a liberal education, I have one piece of advice for the youth of America. Don't go to college. And if you absolutely have to go, don't go to an elite college, because as recent events have shown, it just makes you stupid.
Okay, so ignoring the politically charged message behind that statement. First of all, let me just say this. I don't want to talk about Palestine and Israel yet. I have a video coming up for that. I do. I promise you I do. We're not getting into that. We're just getting specifically into college. Now, there's 2 points that Bill made here. The first point is don't go to college, and he's basing that off his own experience. I first believed that myself when I went to college the first time. But you gotta provide an alternative. And right now, the alternative is people trying to get TikTok, YouTube, whatever famous, right? It's clout chasing. That's the alternative a lot of people are chasing versus college. OnlyFans, right? Stuff like that. And it works. And not for everyone, but it works for a majority of people to at least make a decent living, But there's not really the tangible skills they're gonna be able to provide in society. But his first point is understandable a little bit. His second point, I disagree with why he said it, but I personally think you should only go to an elite school if you're trying to specialize in something, right? If you're just trying to be your average run of the mill, like let's say, engineer, right? Electrical engineer. You can go to Carnegie Mellon if you want to. You can go to Harvard. You can go to Yale. But do you need to? I mean, it depends how much money you want to make, I guess. But how much you gotta consider your own mental health, your own abilities. How well you can handle it. Like, there's just so many factors when it comes to college. Like the gym, it's a commitment and a lifestyle. It's not easy.
There are few, if any, positives to come out of what happened in Israel, but one of them is opening America's eyes to how higher education has become indoctrination into a stew of bad ideas, among them the simplistic notion that the world is a binary place where everyone is either an oppressor or oppressed. In the case of Israel, oppressors being babies and bubbas. The same students who will tell you that words are violence and silence is violence were very supportive when Hamas terrorists went on a rape and murder rampage worthy of the Vikings. They knew where to point the fingers at the murdered, and then it was off to ethics class. Now,
I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I have a choice. I think I do have to kind of talk about it a little bit, at least a little bit. Okay, so what Bill is trying to connect here, he's trying to say that because people have this higher education, right? They are now able to morally grandstand, and because of this moral grandstand, it's easier for them to, you know, say, oh, because a lot of innocents got killed and attacked, which is horrible and horrendous. Please never misconstrue that from me. Because of that, and because of this higher education that they already have, it's easy for them to point the finger and say, hey, it's very easy for them to choose sides in a binary fashion, right? When the real explanation is that what's happening with Palestine and Israel is a very long, complicated, arduous history that has so many other factors just that influenced how everything went, with like especially with the Oslo Accords, right? So many other factors and other entities. There's just so much nuance within it, right? It's you can't just pick a side. Maybe you can if you're, if you live the history and you live in one of those two countries, but as a outsider with a privilege to not be in it, you can't. It's hard to choose a side, right? However, if I had to make my statement, and I'll make it again, I can support what both groups want and still condemn Hamas for the acts of terrorism that they committed that affected civilians. You want to fight a war? Fight with the people who wanted the war. Fight with people who committed the atrocities. Why civilians? There's never a justification. And I guess the issue that Bill has, that I personally also have an issue with, is the people that are unable to condemn Hamas. To say that what Palestine did was not good, at least just the Hamas faction, right? They can't condemn it and still support their cause. Why can't you condemn people who killed innocent people? Why is that difficult? Why? Why? And I don't want to get into anything deeper than that, but I have a feeling we're about to.
Now, I recognize that a certain amount of foolishness is expected of college kids, but mixing Jägermeister and tomato juice isn't the same as siding with terrorists. 34 student groups at Harvard signed a letter that said the apartheid regime is the only one to blame, proving they don't know what constitutes apartheid. They don't know much of anything, actually.
All right, let's read this real quick. The apartheid regime is the only one to blame. Israeli violence has structured every aspect of Palestinian existence for 75 years, from systematic land seizures to routine airstrikes, arbitrary detentions to military checkpoints and enforced family separations to targeted killings. Palestinians have been forced to live in a state of death, both slow and sudden. Today, the Palestinian ordeals enter into uncharted territory. The coming days will require a firm stand against colonial retaliation. We call on the Harvard community to take action to stop the ongoing annihilation of Palestinians. Okay, so for whatever reason, this read to me very similar to, I don't know if you guys have seen it. There's the people, the queers for Palestine, right? A lot of LGBTQ and other organizations are showing their support. And when I first saw the LGBT one, I was very confused because they would, excuse my French, they would kill you, right? You in Palestine, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but in Palestine, I'm pretty sure they're very anti-LGBT, very anti-gay, right? So while I understand a little bit why you would side with them, even though Hamas committed what Hamas did, right? Even though I can understand it just a little bit, they hate you. They don't like you. But you're still going to stand with them, which is fine. I get it. Look at the facts versus everything else, but it's weird to me. Maybe not to you, but it's weird to me. So it read the same, that situation, right? Just me thinking about it like that, read the same way as this. A position of privilege, and one that is, honestly, I would have to agree with Bill. It just seems like a very binary take, very binary, because it's back and forth. It's not, like I said, it's a very complicated history, and I'll explain that more in another video. But it's a very complicated history. It's not as black and white as this makes it appear to be.
But it doesn't deter them from having an opinion. They've convinced themselves Israel is the most repressive regime in history because they have no knowledge of history. or even a desire to know it. And actual history doesn't come up in their intersectionality of politics and genderqueer identities class. I actually believe them that they didn't read the letter closely. I think they scanned it, said it was blaming Israel, and went back to surfing TikTok. Because college life today is a day spa combined with a North Korean re-education camp. It's a daycare center with a meal plan, except the toddlers can fire the adults. The fact that college presidents, who usually love to speak out about anything, couldn't find their voice to condemn the worst attacks since the Holocaust says a lot about who really controls colleges and why, if ignorance is a disease, Harvard Yard is the Wuhan wet market. But the reason why despising Israel became pretty much a requirement of the American left is colleges, elite colleges, the mouth of the river from which this and all manner of radical left, illiberal, yes, illiberal nonsense flows. Supporting all black, that is, segregated dorms, segregated graduation ceremonies and orientation programs, which occur on hundreds of campuses, is illiberal. So is the racism against Asian applicants and chasing speakers off of campus.
Okay, so I want to go back to that. This is very interesting to see, and if all true, I don't agree with it. Black students only housing set up at Washington Universities embrace segregated graduations. UC San Diego hosts segregated orientation. Asian Americans less likely to be accepted to selective colleges. 2/3 of college students think shouting down a public speaker can be acceptable. I guess I can. Nah, that's just weird, right? That's just weird. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of this. We've gone through so many issues when it came to segregation and everything like that. Like, I think the biggest, and this may be a controversial take, but it's my honest opinion. The biggest reason why I didn't care to see Black Panther was because of that segregation factor that they had to it, right? Like when it opened up in theaters. I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure I remember only black people were allowed to see Black Panther. Like when it first came out in the beginning. Like the first day showing type shit. I'm pretty confident only black people were allowed to watch it. And I was like, why? It turned me off to it. I still haven't seen the movie. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, fantastic actor. Nothing to detract from his accomplishments, but I just didn't care to see the movie. And I don't want to say that was the biggest push or yeah, biggest pull reason, but it was one of them. It's definitely one of them. So when I read this, right, I can understand, even though I personally consider myself a liberal, I can see the frustration because that's racist. At least, yeah, that's just racist. To me, that's racist. So I don't agree with that. I disagree with that.
When the First Amendment watchdog group Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression began ranking colleges based on their commitment to free speech and inquiry, Harvard came in dead last.
And if colleges are being ranked by their acceptance of free speech, I think it's an interesting concept. I don't legitimately hate that, but who's to judge the acceptance? Like, how do you really rate that? I'm curious to see the scale. Like, how do you scrutinize, liberation?
The old dorm room bull sessions? It's less risky shooting the shit in Scientology. John Stuart Mill wrote that he who knows only his own side of the case knows little, to which today's college students respond, he and his are cis pronouns. Yeah, look at these truck-driving he-men from the tool aisle at Sam's Club. Vivek Ramaswamy, Yale and Harvard. Ron DeSantis, Yale and Harvard. Ted Cruz, Princeton and Harvard. Pat Robertson, George W. Bush, Tom Cotton, Mike Pompeo, Bill O'Reilly, Steve Bannon, Jared Kushner, most of the Supreme Court. There's a special magic that links Harvard types and being utterly face-punchable. And while it may seem like these men like these, and the kids who signed the Harvard letter have nothing in common, actually, I think they do. They all came out of an asshole factory. So, to the older folks, I say, college today is not the college you remember. And to the younger people, I say, don't do it. You don't need 4 years and a lifetime of crippling debt to learn to hate America when you can just watch 5 minutes of Selling Sunset.
I'm not gonna lie, that was a good quip about Selling Sunset. That was actually not. So Bill Maher. I think the rest of the video is just him. It's just what you saw before. It's just him taking the piss out of college people, college today. I think he has a deep respect for college back then. I don't think he says no to college back then, but college now, I think him and a lot of conservatives have like an issue with the liberalism that a lot of these college kids seem to adopt when they come out of, I guess specifically Harvard, but really just college in general. And it's formed to opinions that seem very anti-American, liberalism, like he said before, and just not good in general. So while understanding his points, I just want to counter and say that that's not everybody. It may be the most vocal people who seem to have the bigger voice because they are getting the most attention because everyone's watching them, but that's not everybody. And because it's not, there's so many other people out there trying to make a difference, be the Baracks of the world, trying to make the world a better place. And I'm hoping I become one of them. So, not a bad segment. I enjoyed it more than I thought. And I just want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, get me to let's get me 100 subscribers. We're at 33. I'm very proud of it, but let's get me up, okay? Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. I've watched Selling Sunset. I think if I do a video on Selling Sunset, it'll be a good video. But it's going to be like when I do like some... Anyway.